Hello, everyone. Good evening and good morning to all the participants around the world. My name is Siqi. I'm the host for today, and welcome you all to the closing ceremony of Singapore Healthcare AI Datathon 2021. Hope you all have enjoyed the event so far, and I think all the teams has been working very hard, including our mentors and judges in the past 48 hours. Just hanging there, we are about to announcing all the winning teams and the press presentation. First of all, let's welcome our event co-organizing chairperson, Dr. Mengling Feng, to give us a speech. Dr. Feng, please.
Hello. Good day, everyone. It's me again, Dr. Morning or Dr. Feng, the co-organizing chair for the SG Healthcare AI Datathon 2021. For those audience could just join us online, just to quickly brief you what happened over the last 48 hours. Since our Datathon kickstart on Friday evening, we have our 50 teams in the final have been working extremely hard with real-world clinical data and try to produce and validate some of their initial ideas. And tonight is the finals for all the teams, and we will be judging for all the winners for this Datathon this year. Right. As you can see, this year is our second year hosting the Datathon virtually due to the pandemic. But very fortunately, this year also we have the largest scale of Datathon. Just from our website, over the last 3 months, we have over 6,000 views over our website. And we have over 80 teams for initial registration coming from over 30 regions around the world. And we'll be providing over 20 data sets. For our final round, as I mentioned, we selected 50 teams to enter our final rounds. Wow, over the 48 hours, as Siqi already mentioned, our team has been working extremely hard. I'm just taking out, I've been stalking all these teams on their Microsoft Team channel, where we use as a virtual platform for teams to interact with one another. And I just found, like, for example, team number 4, if you can see here, they've been having many conference calls, and the longest one they had is 4 hours and 34 minutes, right? So I'm not sure, is that the longest record? I mean, if your team beat this record, do punch on the chats and tell us which team you are from and how long is the longest conference call you guys ever had. In addition to that, as encouraged by a lot of our mentors, I do see many teams do reach out to other teams as well, in addition to focusing on their own hacking and coding, and initiate some discussion with other teams. That's great. Although I understand that since everything is happening in virtual, some other teams may be busy with their own hacking, so they may not be that responsive immediately. But you're taking initiative, reaching out to other teams, that's an action that deserves tremendous amount of respect. Yeah, be patient. Maybe you reached out to them again now since everyone finished hacking, and leave your emails and ask them to reach out to you if they want to, right? As I mentioned, we do hope this platform be a platform for new collaborations and new ideas, not just a competition. And yeah, not just that you guys have been interacting very actively online on our cloud. Things has been really busy as well. This is where our relational database is looking at, which is holding both the Mimic4 and EISU and also the VitalDB dataset. As you can see, it gets really busy. And these are some lines of our servers. I can see since the very beginning of 4th December, everything gets crazy until it picks pretty much noon today. Yeah, you guys have been working very hard. Of course, all these are great thanks to our cloud service sponsors, which are Huawei Cloud and AWS. Thanks to the very generous support. Over the weekend, in case you didn't know, we have spent about 60,000 USD cloud credits supporting all these teams for hacking. I hope you guys had a great time. I believe that, yeah, I think you guys are amazing. I can see, I watched some of your presentation. The quality of this year's presentation is just awesome. And also, I would like to thank a few organizing members. There are many people helping and organize it. I can't name all of them. I just highlight a few of them. For example, Siqi, you probably won't be strange to her since she should be communicating with you over Microsoft team, inviting all of you to the Microsoft team and helping you to form your teams as well. And then we have Wang Han, Jian Geng, and Yu Cheng from my lab as well, who have been helping you on all the cloud setups. I do see them staying up all night until you guys sleep to answer all your cloud setup questions. I think they definitely deserve a clap, applause for their effort, right? Great thanks to them. And of course, behind the scene, right, as you can see all these fancy things, me standing in my slides, they are actually a tremendous team from NUS-IS studio behind it, and you can see a lot of technology behind it as well. And of course, our mentors, they have been really helpful and supportive. I can see them joining the chats, having comments with the teams. I hope you understand that a lot of mentors actually in a different time zone from us. For example, I know that Omar, his first mentoring session is 6 a.m. his time, and actually that's true for many mentors. So let's thank all our mentors again, which includes Dr. Ian, the Chief Medical Officer from Elsevier, Professor Leo from MIT, Professor Finale from Harvard, Dr. Omar from NESTCC, Professor Ji Liang from MSU, Professor Judy from Emory University, Professor Hao Chen from Hong Kong UST, Dr. Gloria from Harvard, Xiao Li from MIT, Dr. Alistair and Dr. Tom from MIT as well. And of course, our local mentor as well, Professor Daniel from Singhao, Professor Harry from SGH, Professor Liu Nan from Duke NUS, and Dr. Gilbert from Singhao as well. Great thanks to all our mentors. Really, I really appreciate your advices and help to all our teams. And of course, while we are talking, there's a group of people, sorry, I'm blocking some of them again, has been working extremely hard again today. I feel bad that I keep waking many of them up 6 a.m. in the morning. They've been now working hard, going through all your video that you have been submitted 6:30 p.m. Singapore time just now to score all of you and to decide the final list, and of course later on all our winners. So great thanks to all our judges as well, which includes Omar, you have met, Professor Ji Liang, Professor Fei Wong from Cornell, Professor Raymond Wong from Hong Kong UST, Professor Judy again, Professor Chen Hao, Dr. Alistair, Dr. Tom, Dr. Adam Chi, Chief from NUS-ISS, and sorry, let me get my laptop out so it's blocked. Professor, last one is Professor James Pang from NUS as well. Sorry that his name is blocked. Yeah, we should deal with that later next time. So great thanks to our judges. Please do remember who they are and know who they are, right? So why? Because anything wrong with the result, right? Please don't come to us. It's all their fault. No, I'm just kidding. As I mentioned, they've been working really hard to help to go through a large amount of videos to help us to pick up the finalists and also help us to judge the winners later on. So really appreciate for their help. Wow. And last but not least, right? There's a group of people we must thank, right? And this group of people are all of you, right? All of you. A Datathon won't be a successful Datathon without amazing teams like all of you from all around the globe, right? So I'm really sorry that because it's virtual, I can't even put a picture of your faces. I can only use an old photo. This is really unfortunate, but I do have an open invitation to all of you. Next year, if we are allowed to hold this again in Singapore, I invite all of you again to join our Datathon physically in Singapore. I trust me, right? When we can have all this, you can see all the happy face in that room. When we can gather physically, we are going to have more fun and more interactions and more networking. And as I mentioned, you guys have been amazing. We see many good ideas. The outcomes, the quality outcomes are tremendous, and we are really impressed by it. So congratulations to all the teams. Regardless the outcome later on, I believe you must have learned something throughout this journey. I hope you make some new friends, make some connections, find a good team to work with. I think that's all it counts, right? So I feel like everyone, sincerely from my heart, I feel like everyone tonight here, all of you are winners, and I would like to congratulate all of you. Well done. you guys has been really amazing. Later on you watch the videos, all of you will agree with me. Okay, so before we talk, release the results, as our judges still busy scoring, there's a special session here where all of you, the audience, have a chance to judge as well. Because last weekend, our partner, the Hospital of Israelita Albert Einstein, have organized the AI Datathon as well. And tonight we are really honored to invite the top 3 teams to present and let all of you to vote which one is your favorite here. So before we show their the videos of their top 3 teams, let me invite Dr. Eduardo, the organizer of the AI Datathon, Brazilian from Brazilian AI Datathon, to turn on the camera and come on the stage and share briefly about his event. Please.
Hello. Hi, thank you very much for having me here and for giving us the opportunity of presenting the winner teams. So let me just show you a little bit about our Datathon, how we did it last month. So we already have the opportunity to work with organizing Datathons with MIT in 2017, 2019, and now in 2021. Thank you, Leo, for that and all the amazing team from MIT. But this year we had the challenge of the pandemic, so in the middle of everything. And our Datathon, we decided to do it remotely, fully remotely, and throughout 1 month. So last month, we held a 1 month fully remote Datathon. The team was medical imaging, and we had 135 participants who formed the 26 initial groups. They had 28 days to work on 34 suggested public imaging data sets, and they had to come up with a compelling need statement and working in the AI solution. They were mentored by 30 experts who gave at least 6 lectures throughout the month, and we have the participation of 2 Kaggle Grandmasters who were mentors and in the panel. So 11 groups were selected to the finals, and 5 of them were awarded. So the top groups were invited to present their pitch here, and the most popular team between them, you will vote on that, will have a bonus prize of 1,000 reais plus cloud credits. So we thank you very much for the invitation, and we would like to congrats all the teams from your Datathon in Singapore for the hard work in all and the last hours. And I believe that there are many amazing solutions there too. So we hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eduardo. Next, we will play in sequence of the 3 winning Brazilian winners videos. The first one is from Team N. Please play the video.
Good evening. Have you ever wondered the number of mistakes radiologists make around the world? It's about 40 million every year. One estimate from the UK expects there will be a 31% shortage of radiologists in 2023. Now, let me add one more thing. When experienced radiologists are asked to reinterpret abdominal pelvic CT studies that had been interpreted by themselves or by a colleague, they disagreed with each other more than 30% of the times, and with themselves more than 25% of the times. Grounded on this data, we came to the following need statement. How can we increase the diagnostic accuracy of chest X-ray images while prioritizing the analysis of potentially serious cases and also reducing the time taken for radiologists to issue the report? Let's have a look at the first 2 parts of our problem. One of the most common algorithms for medical image classification is called convolutional neural network. Nonetheless, this architecture has a few drawbacks. Firstly, the global images are used to train the model, despite the fact that usually only a small area in relation to the global image contains the lesion. Secondly, variations in capture conditions can cause distortions. For instance, different positions may cause the borders to be misaligned. Therefore, attention-guided convolutional neural network seems promising to improve the model. There are three branches in it: a global branch that captures the image as a whole, the local branch that results from the mask inference model and focus on local lesion regions that are specific to a disease. And finally, these two branches concatenate to yield a fusion branch that gives rise to the output of the model, which can be either with anomaly or without anomaly. By using this model and applying the NIH chest X-rays dataset on Kaggle, we obtained the following results. With 1,100 images tested, the true negatives were 72% and the true positives were 69%. This result can be enhanced, especially by adding a new element. It is inspired by the concept behind recap, which takes advantage from the hidden crowdsourcing work. By selecting the squares with the features described in the instructions, users are training an algorithm that recognizes elements within an image. This is what is called working without knowing it. As the radiologist finishes writing a report, he or she would also select the squares in the region where a lesion was detected. With that, our model will have a complementary input provided by tiny bits of human work to fine-tune the mask inference method. This workflow has the following advantages. The doctors are already familiar with the images they interpreted just then. The doctors will have the opportunity to double-check the work they had done. And radiologists might also be required to complete a recapture step with an image interpreted the day before as they log into the EHR. Our proposed model allows a continuous training as doctors are interpreting studies on a daily basis, and the model may evolve quite rapidly. In addition, the system would be trained at a very low cost when compared to available solutions in the market. We're also aware of the time burden this step might cause to radiologists. However, we believe the way to work around the potential issue is by spacing out the number of times a doctor needs to complete the recapture step. Our model will also be able to reduce the time to analyze by over 20%. Now, moving on to the market analysis, we can see that the medical analysis software market size is as big as $2.6 billion US, and it's expected to grow by over 8% every year. In Brazil, where we're applying the solution, only the number of hospitals amounts to over 6,000. Finally, I just wanted to highlight one of the next steps. We're partnering with CAISMI, which stands for Center of Integral Attention to Women's Health. It's a women's hospital affiliated to the University of Campinas, one of the major universities in Latin America. We look forward to sharing even more exciting results very soon. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Next, let's play the video from Team R. This is the second video from our Brazilian team.
Hello everyone, my name is Taira Milá and I represent the Spine Vertex group. I would like to say that it's a huge pleasure for us to be here today. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Spine Vertex was born due to a radiologist in our group that from the very beginning stressed that detection of vertebral fracture is a huge problem in this area. It's mainly a manual process that takes from 15 to 20 minutes to analyze each image. And according to this article, 3 out of 4 exams have missed diagnosis for vertebral fracture. So a lot of vertebral fractures are not detected. So the automation of this process would be interesting for radiologists, hospitals, and medical image centers. In our group, we chose 2 problems to define our need statement. The first one is the detection and classification of vertebral fracture based on the reduction of vertebral heights. It's when we compare the heights of the inferior vertebra, like shown here, with the height of the superior vertebra, like shown in here, for example. And if there's a reduction, it could indicate the presence of a fracture. For the second one, we noticed that we could approach another problem as well, that is the detection and quantification of vertebral slip. It's when the superior vertebra, like shown here, presents a displacement in relation to the inferior vertebra, like shown here. Spine vertex is our vision parameters of vertebral sleep and vertebral fracture. The model is based on the segmentation of the spine, and some of the benefits of this model includes decreasing time needed to diagnosis, increased diagnostic accuracy, detecting vertebral fracture or displacement, and explicability, given that the parameters are calculated using relatively simple geometrical relations. Considering the market, we haven't found a similar model in Brazil, and outside Brazil we have found that AIDoc has a machine learning-based model to detect fractures. To develop the model, we used the VERSE 2019 dataset. This dataset is composed of CT scans of the spine region, and for each CT scan there is a segmentation of each vertebra as well as its classification. There is also a fracture annotation for each vertebra with its grade and type, and the source code used for segmentation and classification was made available. So, the input of our model is the volumetric segmentation of vertebrae. For each vertebra, we detect the sagittal plane closer to its centroid, like shown in the figure. And in the sagittal plane, we define the vertebra profile. Given the profile of each vertebra, we can create a profile map as shown in the figure. With this profile map, we can automatically estimate the vertices of each vertebra. That's why we call our model spine vertex. Given the vertices, we can calculate the parameters that we are interested in, like misalignment, as shown in the figure, and estimate fracture by comparing the heights of a given vertebra and its superior neighbor. As first results, we have run our model to all images of VERSE dataset to perform some kind of screening. And as we can see here, for this case, we were able to detect a slip of 27% from vertebra L4 in relation to vertebra L5, as we can notice in the image here. This case here presents a lot of fractures, as we can see here, here, and here, for example. And for this case, our model was able to detect some of the fractures presented in the image, like here, here, and here, as well as classify its type and grade, as here, here, and here. Comparing our model with the cases annotated by VERSE 2019, we can see here that we are able to classify correctly 95% of the negative cases, but for the positive cases, we are still missing 68% of them. And for those fractures cases that we are detecting, we are classifying correctly the degree of 61% of them. There are still a lot of things that we can do to improve our model, so as future developments, we want to analyze the case we didn't get right. We want to use the information from the coronal plane as well, apply the model to a dataset other than VERSE, expand the analysis to neck, chest, and abdomen CT scans, and develop interactive dashboards or a 3D slicer module for displaying the clinical parameters. As an example of further improvement, we already can open our output table in 3D slicer. It gives more flexibility for the radiologist to analyze the case. The radiologist can show the mask or even check the structure in 3D to check if it's in agreement with our prediction. This is our clinical consulting team, Erika, Deborah, and Frederico. And this is our data science team, Edgar, Vinicius, Juliano, and me, Tairan Milá. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll have the last video presentation from our Brazilian winner. It's Team Y. Please play the video for Team Y.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are Olhares. I'm Pamela Salles, and I'm going to show you how artificial intelligence can avoid the main cause of irreversible blindness in the world. Firstly, I want to introduce you Mr. João. He lives in Osasco, São Paulo, and attends his ophthalmologist frequently. In a routine attendance, his ophthalmologist, who is a specialist in glaucoma, discovered that Mr. John suffers from the disease, and as soon as he was diagnosed, he started the suitable treatment. This is Mr. José. He lives in Barra da Corda, Maranhão, and has difficulty to see. As in the region he lives, there aren't many ophthalmologists. He looks for an optician and buying new glasses. The problem is that Mr. José also suffers from glaucoma, but he wasn't diagnosed, so the disease can evolve to a more serious situation, causing even irreversible blindness. Unfortunately, Mr. José's history is more common than what we would like to. The quantity of ophthalmologists in the country is small. In the case of Mr. João, living in São Paulo, he can consult an specialist much easier than Mr. José, who lives in Maranhão, where the expectancy is of only one ophthalmologist for almost 30,000 inhabitants. Glaucoma is a silent disease, and only in more advanced stages, the patient starts to manifest symptoms of sight loss. That's why it's important to make an optical checkup exams regularly. According to the World Health Organization, there are about 80 million people diagnosed with glaucoma, and it's estimated that this number achieves 112 million in 2040. Besides the life quality of the patient, which is the main factor, we can mention the costs consequent from the disease, which can achieve in average 26,000 Brazilian reais per year for each patient. Considering that glaucoma hits 2% of the population above 4 years old, it's estimated that about 1.5 million people in Brazil have glaucoma. The total annual cost would be superior to 39 billion Brazilian reais. It's also important to highlight that the more life expectancy of the population, the more people can get glaucoma. In this scenario, we can realize a model of artificial intelligence in which it's possible to detect any alteration in the cupping of the optic disc through retinography exams, which are photographic images of the back of the eye. Glaucoma damages the optic nerve progressively, and unfortunately, it's not possible to recover the parts of the nerve which are damaged. The enlarged cupping is one of the main suggestive signs of glaucoma. When this alteration is detected, it's possible to send the patient with priority to a specialist care and confirm the diagnosis for glaucoma starts the precocious treatment. For the elaborations projects, it was used set of ophthalmological data from Unifesp, the Federal University of São Paulo. With this data, we made a model of artificial intelligence through the classification of images, identified as normal or abnormal regarding the evaluation of the cupping. After training and validation of our model, we took a final test with new images and they got efficient of more than 80%. Currently, it's available in the market, the Devs Falcon Air, a portable retinograph that allows retina exams to be made easily in any part of the world. When we adapted this technology to a self-service terminal, for example, supervisionized by previous trained professionals, we can enable an easy access to exam of the back of the eye to various patients. And with the inclusion of the model of artificial intelligence from Olhar Y, it will be possible to make the previous detection of anomalies of the optic nerve and prevent the irreversible blindness. Let's democratize the access to the optic health. We are Olhar Y, and we invite you to make part of this change with us. Thank you very much.
That's all the 3 videos from our Brazilian winners. Now it's time to vote for your favorite video. We have opened a poll in Zoom link. Please choose your favorite video. out of the 3 videos that we have just seen. The first video is from team N, second one from team R, and the last one is from team Y. We have 2 minutes for the vote. Left. Okay, 30 seconds. Last 15 seconds. Okay, time's up. So we have the result now. It's clear that our winning team is Team N. Congratulations to Team N. Okay, next one is it's a video presentation of the top 10 teams that we have selected for this year's Datathon. We'll play the top 10 teams video one by one. Okay, the first one we'll play is from team number 11, from Dr. Lim Daniel. The topic is identification of drug-drug interaction with a graph neural network. Please play the first video for team 11.
Critically ill patients may be prescribed as many as 20 to 30 medications, which increases the risk of drug-drug interactions that may lead to serious adverse outcomes, such as mortality and readmission. Our team Dignify has taken up the challenge of discovering drug-drug interactions in ICU patients by using a novel application of graph neural networks and causal inference. It is a major clinical challenge to identify DDIs in ICU patients. Conventionally, DDIs are identified by knowledge of pharmacology and drug mechanisms, pre-market reporting from clinical trials, and ad hoc post-market reporting by clinicians. However, in ICU patients, conventional pharmacologic mechanisms may not apply due to organ dysfunction. Critically ill patients are also not well represented in clinical trials, and post-marketing surveillance may fail to distinguish adverse events due to DDIs from the patient's underlying diseases. Additionally, there are technical challenges in discovering DDIs from drug administration data. Medication lists are not static, and so an ideal solution would need to capture the timing of drug dosing, allow for interpretation of drug interactions without pre-specified hypotheses, and have flexibility for multi-way drug interactions. This is inadequately addressed by historic techniques, such as regression models, which often oversimplify the time dimension by one-hot encoding drugs. While interaction terms can be specified, long drug lists require multiple hypothesis testing, which needs further statistical correction. More modern techniques have represented drug administration times as sequences, and use techniques such as transformers to encode the information. These methods can produce accurate predictions of adverse outcomes, but it is difficult to interpret and extract the underlying DDI. For this Datathon, we focus on DDIs causing acute kidney injury occurring within 48 hours of ICU admission in ICU patients from the MIMIC-4 cohort. We made use of the electronic medicine administration records from 1 day before and 1 day after ICU admission, as well as relevant covariates such as age, gender, vital signs, and laboratory tests. We had a two-step aim. First, to build an accurate model for AKI prediction by using a graph to represent the temporal drug administration inputs and other covariates. Second, to discover DDIs through average treatment effect on the treated, or ATET analysis of different drug combinations. Our base cohort had approximately 21,000 ICU admissions, of which around 11,000 or 51% developed AKI. For this datathon, we considered 377 drugs grouped into 89 drug categories. Pre-processing including normalization was done for the other covariates, and we used a 70-30 train test split. To predict AKI, we first constructed a heterograph consisting of a subgraph for drug administration, a subgraph for each covariate type, and a subgraph for the outcome of AKI. Temporal embedding was used for the timestamp features. The main task of the graph neural network was to predict the presence of a link between a given patient node and the AKI outcome node. With the trained GNN model, we estimated the ATET for each pair of drug categories in the subcohort that they were co-administered in. We defined a pair of drugs to have a DDI if the average AKI risk when the drugs are co-administered is higher than the average risk of the drugs being administered in isolation. Our results showed that the graph neural network model achieved excellent performance in AKI risk prediction with an AURC of 0.855 and an AUPRC of 0.876. This performance is comparable to the published literature. We confirmed the presence of known DDIs such as cyclosporin and statins, which have been reported in isolated case studies so far. We also identified novel DDIs such as macrolide antibiotics with nitrates and loop diuretics, as well as statins with tacrolimus and carbapenems. This was unexpected as these drugs are conventionally not associated with AKI, and statins are thought to be protective for AKI. We also discovered unexpected drug interactions that reduce the risk of AKI, such as ACE inhibitors with other drugs. While ACE inhibitors may cause AKI when acutely administered, it may be that patients already on ACE inhibitors are protected from AKI. These DDIs warrant further investigation. In this datathon, we built an accurate graph neural network model for AKI prediction and applied causal inference on top of this model to confirm known DDIs and discover potentially novel DDIs. Our current graph model was abbreviated to decrease computational complexity. We intentionally collapsed individual drugs into broader drug categories, and hence we were unable to include drug dosing information as different drugs were grouped together. We also restricted the number of covariates to focus on the task of DDI modeling and discovery, and our outcome was a modified AKI definition focusing on short-term prediction. Future work will include more granular inputs for individual drugs, drug doses, and more covariates such as comorbid conditions. We aim to include AKI at longer horizons of up to a week, and other adverse outcomes such as liver injury. Finally, the causal inference method is able to probe multi-way DDIs, which we will study further. Thank you from Team 11, Dignify.
Thank you, Team 11. Next, we will have the team from Team 54. It's a Malaysia team. The topic is develop an automated two-stage approach for the classification of CXR into normal lung versus pneumonia. Please play the video for Team 54.
Hello, we are from Team 54 and this is the title of our project and the acronym for our model. Pneumonia in children requires prompt action because their condition can get worse faster compared to adults. This is because bacterial pneumonia requires timely initiation of antibacterial therapy in order to reduce morbidity and hospitalization, whereas viral pneumonia is often self-limiting. The idea for this project came from the 2021 work of Gudiga et al., in which they reviewed AI approaches for COVID-19 detection and noted that X-ray was the best tool for its diagnosis as it is common in resource-poor as well as in rural settings. With this in mind, we chose the chest X-ray dataset that was listed at the Datathon site that had been published by Kermani et al.
For our project, we sliced the full chest X-ray images into 6 parts. This has not really been done before because commonly the input is full chest X-ray images. We also use a pipeline architecture consisting of 2 neural networks of 6 layers deep. Neural network 1 is tasked with classifying the sliced chest X-ray images into normal or pneumonia, whereas neural network 2 is classifying the confirmed pneumonia images by neural network 1 into bacterial or viral. Therefore, the output of neural network 1 becomes the input of neural network 2. The 6 layers deep neural network is significant because it allows our model to be trained in mobile computing devices as opposed to using normal computers or GPUs because the architecture is comparable to MobileNet or UNet. We chose this strategy to significantly decrease the network complexity and time for training. We also found that our model had a testing accuracy of 95% when using the sliced images compared to the 97% accuracy found by French researcher Victor Bonnet using full images. Normally, clinicians use full images to classify, but our model can still accurately classify using sliced images. An accuracy of 77.5% was obtained when one of our members, who is a radiologist, was asked to classify 40 randomly selected full chest X-ray images into bacterial or viral pneumonia. Compare that to the 78% accuracy of neural network 2 using sliced images. Therefore, our model is still comparable to human-level performance by a margin of 1% better despite using sliced images.
In summary, our team has developed an AI model for pediatric pneumonia decision-making involving chest X-ray, as timely decision-making is important, especially for bacterial pneumonia. However, our project was limited by the lack of supporting information as the dataset consisted of only chest X-ray images. So what's next for our team? Firstly, we will adapt the AI model to include adult chest X-ray. Because it is difficult to obtain a second opinion when the health facility has limited access to the internet, or it is in a remote area, or it has limited resources and X-ray is the only available medical imaging tool, we also plan to implement the model as a mobile app. Lastly, with the development of this mobile app, we can propose to do prospective studies to help fine-tune our model. With that, on behalf of everyone on Team 54, we thank you for the opportunity to participate in the 2021 Singapore Healthcare AI Datathon.
Team 54. Next, the third video is from a South Korea team, Team 9. The topic is develop a deep learning model to predict hypoxemia. Please play the video for Team 9.
We are Team 9. Hi everyone. We are Team 9 from Seoul National University Hospital. We would like to introduce an AI model for intraoperative hypoxemia prediction. Intraoperative hypoxemia is considered one of the most serious risks during anesthesia and surgery because it can cause serious adverse events to patients, such as cardiac arrest, arrhythmia, postoperative infection, and cerebral ischemia. Although a pulse oximetry enables a physician to monitor oxygen saturation during surgery, intraoperative hypoxemia can neither be reliably predicted nor prevented. Thus, more accurate prediction of intraoperative hypoxemia is needed to improve patient care. For our model, we've used VitalDB, a dataset of 6,388 surgical patients from Seoul National University Hospital, composed of intraoperative biosignals and clinical information. For the precise prediction of hypoxemia, we extracted 3,636 cases, which contain patients' age, sex, height, weight, and track values of gas anesthetic, HR, ECO2, RR, FiO2, TV, PEEP, PIP, RFTN20_CE. And we excluded cases with patients under 18-year-old and cases with op duration under 30 minutes. The total number of eligible cases was 3,613. Hypoxemia event is defined as an event with SPO2 under 92 lasting for a minute. Input data is 1 minute length data from 10 minutes ahead of the target event. The input data consists of 8 numeric vital signs, HR, ECO2, RR, FiO2, TV, PEEP, PIP, RFTN20_CE. Each value is recorded per 2 seconds, which means that 1 minute data contains 30 values from each track. To increase target event data, we augmented hypoxemia events by 2 seconds interval. We defined a non-hypoxemia event as an event with SPO2 over 92 lasting for 20 minutes. Like the target event's input data is 1 minute length data from 10 minutes ahead of the target non-event. Target non-event is augmented by 1 minute interval. The number of samples is 750,729. The ratio of target events is 26.7%. Training data and the test data is as follows. The p-value of age, sex, height, weight, hypoxemia events is larger than 0.05, which means that there is not any meaningful difference between training data. The structure of our deep learning model is as follows. We use the CNN model, which adopted the ResNet structure and made it consist of 4 residual blocks. Demographic information of a patient is analyzed after finishing feature extraction of the convolution layer. The results are as follows. The moment hypoxia occurred after 10 minutes, an accuracy of 0.82 and OROX 0.88 were achieved. Hypoxemia after 5 minutes, hypoxia after 15 minutes 0.90, 0.77 is a 10-minute alternative, OPROC of 0.76 is the best. Here is the prediction of hypoxemia after 10 minutes. Intraoperative hypoxemia was a rare situation, which limited obtaining the greater amount of data. Several clinical diagnoses associated with intraoperative hypoxemia are not directly observable and strongly subjective, which is difficult to transit into dataset that we directly can utilize. Our model enables clinicians to proactive intervention before the patients experience hypoxemic events. CNN could incorporate these large amounts of disparate data that extracted from the patient monitor and predict upcoming clinical events. We will continue to add data and evolve the model to create generalized hypoxemia prediction AI model. We will improve the hypoxemia prediction model before 15 minutes, which had a significant drop in performance, to make a more robust prediction algorithm.
Thank you, Team 9. Next, we'll have the Team 59 from Thailand. The topic is developing a practical point-of-care algorithm to diagnose and categorize diabetic retinopathy severity. Team 59, please.
Hello everyone, we are Team 59 from Thailand. This year we come with the project named the Blindness Terminator. It is known for years that diabetic retinopathy (RDR) is the leading cause of preventable blindness worldwide. Since patients have no symptom until they have complication and already go blind, the key of successful blindness prevention is early detection and timely treatment. But this could not be done even in developed country. Let's see how does this happen. Nowadays, the number of diabetes patients is continuously rising, and estimated to be around 642 from World Health Organization. So with this extremely excess patient-to-eye care ratio, it seems to be impossible to adequately provide this necessary surveillance. Moreover, there are other obstacles that impede diabetes patients from regular eye checkups, such as distance barrier, frequent hospital visit, time consuming per visit, and finally COVID-19 pandemics further made hospital less accessible. Many have tried to use fundus camera as a helping tools for DR screening, but images from the camera still needed to be interpreted by a relatively small number of eye care workers, thus the problem is still not fully solved. And many diabetes patients still develop diabetic retinopathy and finally become blind. So, our team aimed to create the model to help ophthalmologists grading diabetic retinopathy severity, and classify who need to see the doctor, or who need urgent intervention. With this model we can decentralize the eye checkup, make it become more accessible with less time consuming. Moreover, we can screen for the patients that need an urgent ophthalmologist visit to save their sight, and finally decrease the number of preventable blindness patients. Corresponding to the recent deep learning researches, we decide to tackle the problem with one of the most popular deep convolutional neural network architecture, so-called efficient net combining with transfer learning. Apart from the training procedure, we have conducted several image pre-processing methods such as border cropping, light balance, image resize, oversampling and data augmentation. As a result, we decide to use recall and confusion matrix to evaluate our model performance. For severity problem, our model reaches a good detection for level 0, 2, 3, 4. For CSME problem, our model still has a room for improvement. For urgency problem, our model has a poor performance due to small size of data. According to our results, with our model we hope that we can decentralize the eye care accessibility, support the medical expertise, and finally have a chance to overcome the world-leading cause of blindness. Nevertheless, there are 3 improvement plans which we want to reach in the future. First, we can improve the performance of our model by increasing the amount of data, including medical cross-borders data, to support wide range of medical staff. Second, we would like to apply our model to a real-time application which can be easily portable for medical staff in order to get rid of accessibility problem. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Team 59. Next, we have a video from Team 28 from Japan. The topic is heterogeneity in treatment effects of hydrocortisone for sepsis to explore potential targets. Please play the video for Team 28. Team 28. Yeah.
Hello everyone. Our presentation is about heterogeneity in treatment effects of hydrocortisone for sepsis. In the recent guideline on the management of sepsis, it says like this: for adults with septic shock and an ongoing requirement for vasopressor therapy, we suggest using IV corticosteroids. This is a weak recommendation based on moderate quality of evidence. In a recent meta-analysis including 22 RCTs with 7,297 patients, there was no difference in short-term mortality, and to date, no specific subgroups have been identified that corticosteroids are either effective or not effective. So, by applying machine learning approaches, we aim to check the heterogeneity in treatment effects of hydrocortisone and identify patient subgroups that most benefit from hydrocortisone. We used the EICU database, and there were 2,188 patients with septic shock. We assessed whether administration of hydrocortisone led to improvement in the survival rate at hospital discharge. We included the following as potential co-founders. Those were patient demographics, vital signs, initial laboratory data, treatment, and urine output. So first, we extracted data from 2,188 patients with septic shock. Then we used the causal forest model to estimate the effect of hydrocortisone. We ranked the patients into quintiles of estimated treatment effects and checked whether there was heterogeneity in hydrocortisone effects. Then we analyzed which patient subgroup benefits most from hydrocortisone therapy by using the policy tree algorithm. This graph shows the increase in in-hospital survival rate. The overall in-hospital survival rate was 61%, and there was a slight increase in the overall survival rate with the use of hydrocortisone. This is the increase in survival rate in each quintile group. And as you can see, there was heterogeneity in the treatment effect. Then we identified patient subgroups that most benefit from hydrocortisone using the policy tree algorithm. Here, urine output and the amount of norepinephrine used were identified as 2 key variables. So, patients with either decreased urine output or patients with maintained urine output but who requires moderate dose of norepinephrine might benefit most from hydrocortisone. So, as you can see here, those patients are more likely to benefit from hydrocortisone therapy by approximately 8% increase in the in-hospital survival. So our machine learning-based model suggested that there is heterogeneity in treatment effects of hydrocortisone for patients with septic shock. And we showed that in some patient subgroups, for example, patients with decreased urine output, hydrocortisone might be effective. And we believe that our machine learning-based approach can help to facilitate personalized treatment strategy in the field of intensive care. Thank you.
Team 28. Next, we have video from Team 21 from Taiwan. Topic is application of two-stage prediction of mortality in critically ill patients. Please play the video for Team 21.
Hello everyone, we are Team 21. Our topic is application of three-stage prediction of mortality in critically ill patients. Mortality prediction in ICU patients has always been quite an issue. Previous work are dedicated to the prediction of in-hospital or in-ICU mortality. However, ICU patients are quite heterogeneous. According to clinical experience, a great portion are discharged within 24 hours. Some are critically ill and could expire within hours, while some stay in the ICU for a long time. They require totally different treatment strategies. We believe that different prediction models should be applied for different groups. Our goal is to predict mortality at two endpoints, 48-hour mortality and in-ICU mortality. They have different purposes. The 48-hour mortality prediction is to early identify those who are in danger and prompt clinicians to take aggressive actions. In contrast, predicting the ICU mortality helps clinicians to decide long-term strategies, such as inserting invasive lines or consulting palliative care. The prediction also gives information for shared decision-making with patient and family members. More than 70,000 of admissions are recorded in the MIMIC-4 dataset. We collected the admissions for the 0-hour, 6-hour, and 24-hour cohort after removing those more than 3 previous ICU stays and those that stayed in the ICU less than designated hours. We extracted the demographic factors, comorbidities using ICD codes, vital signs, and lab tests. Our data including 0-hour and 6-hour cohorts are being used for 48-hour mortality prediction. The difference between the two is that the 0-hour data has less data and no lab tests are included. So the 6-hour aims to enhance the performance of early prediction. The 24-hour data is more complete and is constructed for ICU mortality prediction to provide better precision. Here are the results. In our study, the demographics in each cohort are compared models for the 3 stages using XGBoost method, random forest, and logistic regression. The XGBoost method yielded the best AUROC scores, up to 0.91 in the 3 stages. Here shows our calibration curve for 0-hour prediction. As you can see, the predicted probability closely matches with the actual probability. We also investigated the importance of each features. Important features are listed here, such as GCS scores, age, and admission source. As mentioned in our goal, our early prediction for mortality benefits clinicians to notice critically ill patients and allocate resources reasonably. Late prediction for ICU mortality help deciding long-term strategies and shared decision-making. For individual patients, we can acquire the features that are closely related to mortality prediction and correct the treatable features. As for study limitations, we share common limitations with other groups. So, in the future, we hope to add multi-center data and try to make dynamic predictions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Team 21. Next, we have Team 15 from mainland China. The topic is to utilize polysomnography data during sleep to predict the risk of abnormal physiological development in pediatric population based on machine learning. Please play the video for Team 15.
Hello, today I'd like to bring you the report of our Group 15, Diagnosis and Prediction of Diabetes via Overnight SpO2 Signal Based on Deep Learning. OSA is widely considered as a systemic disease that can cause frequent hypoxia during sleep and disorder of biological rhythm and metabolism. The prevalence of OSA is increasing year by year, and it has been proven to be an independent risk factor for type 2 diabetes. However, due to the need for invasive blood tests for the diagnosis of diabetes, many OSA patients with potential diabetes have not received enough attention. Therefore, a non-invasive and portable diabetes prediction method is necessary. The causal pathways linking sleep apnea and diabetes is mostly contributed by frequent hypoxia. It gradually leads to a serious pathological mechanism which increases the risk of metabolic disorders and insulin resistance, and eventually develop into diabetes. From this above, we hypothesize that blood oxygen saturation signal, short as SpO2, could be used to detect the risk mechanism of diabetes and further predict the incidence of diabetes. And this signal is much easier and non-invasive to get than blood tests, so it meets the clinical needs. Since SpO2 is a long-time series, we attempted to use the deep learning algorithm to automatically extract features. Our aim is to input original SpO2 signal and demographic information to predict the risk of prevalent and incidence diabetes based on deep learning. The sample was derived from Sleep Heart Health Study, which is a community-based prospective cohort study for examining the cardiovascular outcomes of sleep-disordered breathing in middle-aged and elderly population. The available data included 5,804 cases. After excluding cases combining with respiratory failure, poor quality of SpO2, and missing converters, 4,705 cases were enrolled in diagnosis study. Moreover, we excluded cases with prevalent diabetes and no follow-up. Finally, 2,902 cases were enrolled in prediction study. In this table, we can learn that in diagnosis study, cases with prevalent diabetes were older, more obese, and more severe OSA than those without prevalent diabetes. Features extracted from original SpO2 were significantly different between two populations. It suggested that the original SpO2 were available to make the diagnosis. The similar results were shown in prediction study. From the cumulative risk curve, we found that individuals with severe OSA have high risk of diabetes. Then we started to establish our model. Due to the imbalanced data and difficulty of data argumentation, we randomly select the cases without prevalent or incident diabetes to make the data balanced. We input age, sex, BMI, and SpO2 signal in deep learning model, which consists of one-dimensional convolutional neural network and long short-term memory. Model performance was evaluated by five-fold cross-validation. We found that deep learning model have more advantages than logistic regression model in diagnosis of diabetes. There was 12% improvement in terms of AOC. The class activation map showed that frequent hypoxia contribute the most for classification. However, in prediction of diabetes, the specificity and the precision improved slightly. Therefore, the model still need other predictions to improve the performance. In conclusion, based on our deep learning model, the diagnostic and predictive risks of diabetes were available separately. Maybe in the future, blood oxygen saturation from wearable devices can be used to predict the user's risk of diabetes. There is still much to be improved. We hope to aid more effective predictors and validate the model in the real world. The above is the report of our Group 15. Thank you for your time and support.
Thank you, Team 15. Next, we have a video from Team 55 from Singapore. The topic is using explainable AI for image analysis in diabetic foot ulcers. Please play the video for Team 55.
Hi everyone. This is Project Team 55, and our project is entitled Using Explainable AI for Image Analysis in Diabetic Foot Ulcers. Next, the team comprises of clinicians from NHG and also data scientists from ATIS based both in UK and in Singapore. Next. As we are all aware, the lifetime risk of developing a diabetic foot ulcers amongst patients with diabetes is about 15 to 25%, and there's a heavy global prevalence at about 6.3%, with the 5-year mortality at more than 70%, which is worse than most cancers. Next.
Okay, so the aim of our project is to use explainability to analyze diabetic foot ulcers. We hope this will improve and help us understand our model performance. We also hope that this will, using explainability, will help improve the interactions between medical professionals and patients and ultimately support clinical practice. We're planning on using the diabetic foot ulcer dataset from the 2020 challenge. We want to apply GradCam and Lyme and get medical professionals to evaluate the explainability results. The dataset that we use consists of a 70% trained, 50% validation, and 15% test set. There was 4 classes in total, so infection, ischemia, both, and none.
We selected 4 models to train the images, and they are the DenseNet 121, DenseNet 121 with data augmentation, ResNet 101 White, and MobileNet V3. Next. We also implemented data augmentation techniques, and they are cut mix and mix up. In cut mix, a patch from an image is replaced with a patch from a random image from the training data, and the ground truth labels are mixed proportionately to the number of pixels. And in mix up, it generates a weighted combination of random image pairs from the training data. The images on the right shows examples of cut mix and mix up augmented images.
So these are the 2 methods of explainability that we're using, GradCam and Lyme. GradCam is based on gradients, whereas Lyme is makes its explanation by perturbing superpixels in the image. In the bottom left, we have an example of what a GradCam explanation looked like. And in the bottom right, we have an example of what a Lyme explanation looks like. The green in the Lyme means that this part of the image contributed positively to the class, whereas the red indicates that this part of the image contributed negatively to the class label.
On explainability ratings, in terms of methodology, the GradCam dominates Lyme heavily. On the model level, unfortunately, the best performing models, DenseNet, is worse in terms of explainability, while MobileNet, the worst in terms of classification, is on par with DenseNet and number 2. And number 1 by far is a ResNet. Next. In terms of classes, we have significantly drop in ischemia class in terms of explainability with DenseNet. And overall variation in the classes is a big one. But still ResNet is by far more stable and best one in terms of explainability. Next.
So in terms of the correlation between the heat maps, we found that the DenseNet with and without the augmentation is very similar. Otherwise, the heat maps are quite different, as we see in the correlation. And the ratings are even more different, which is surprising given that we have some very good models and would expect them to operate in a more similar way. Next slide, please. So to summarize, we've had valuable input from our medical experts that showed us that GradCam clearly outperforms Lyme and that the model performance and quality of the explanation don't correlate much, so you need to treat them separately, as was also shown in the heat maps. But we feel that when you do this, you can increase the trust in models by patients and medical professionals. Next.
So it has been a really fruitful weekend for us, and on behalf of the team, we'd like to thank the NUS Datathon team for organizing this event. So looking on, we will proceed with further research via the clinical validation of AI image analysis on Asian wound images, and we're expected to have results by the end of 2022. We also move on to utilize the algorithm and the model in our clinical practice, and hopefully to further wound education and develop further quality improvement endeavors. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Team 55. The second last video is from a Taiwan team, Team 50. The topic is early prediction of sepsis mortality using imaging and EMR data. Please play the video for Team 50.
Greetings, we are Team 50 from Taiwan, composed of doctors from National Taiwan University Hospital and data scientists from National Tsinghua University. We're honored to be here and present our topic. Early prediction of sepsis mortality using machine learning. Our goal is to predict sepsis mortality within 6 hours after patients were admitted to intensive care unit. We combine various easily accessible features, including serial vital sign lab data, patient demographic, and plain chest radiography to achieve this outcome. So decision-making is always the most important part in clinical practice. Early mortality prediction remain a challenge. So far, UpG and SEP-score are a common tool. However, current tools utilize many variables and require at least 24 hours for prediction. When admitting patient into the ICU, the patient's family is isolated from their loved. They are eager to know the possible outcome. Creating a tool that can assess patient's mortality outcome in just 6 hours can help us better communicate with patient's family and manage their proper expectation, giving us time to be a more humane doctor and avoid unnecessary treatment and additional costs to merely prolong patient suffering.
This is our patient cohort. We select all the sepsis patients that stay in ICU for longer than 6 hours. We select the chest radiograph from the MIMIC CXR. First, we choose the CXR that are taken after the admission within 6 hours. Otherwise, we will use the most recent CXR before the admission. First, we utilize the structural data. First, the serial data was fed into the LSTM and recurrent neural network, and we assembled them with the non-serial data model, which is XGBoost and also some machine learning models. And we implement convolutional neural network to generate the embeddings combined with the non-serial data to the XGBoost model to generate the prediction. And we also use the prediction from CM models and the XGBoost model to vote the best prediction for the patient.
Using only the non-serial features alone, our model achieved the AUC of 84.5% on the testing datasets, which was superior to either using the serial features, chest X-ray features, or the combination of both. We also conducted feature importance analysis on the non-serial features shown on the left and serial features shown on the right. For the interpretation of the chest X-ray model, the mean saliency map show extremely similar patterns to the bat wing appearance, which implicates excessive fluid accumulations in the lungs. For fairness analysis, we found that on the structured data, the model achieved better AUC on the Asian people and the male gender, while on the chest X-ray data, the model achieved better performance on the black people and the female gender. And clearly, what we just saw above was that incorporation of serial data into the non-serial data did not actually improve model performance, and this is probably due to the short period of observation window of only 6 hours. And furthermore, using chest X-ray did not also improve model performance, which might be due to the insufficient cases of training data, since not every patient had a corresponding chest X-ray record at admission. However, what we just saw on the saliency map over the outpatients was compatible with clinical reasoning, as with the bat wing patterns, and this implicates possible use of chest X-ray data in the future in selected patient subgroups. As a conclusion, our model achieved fair performance using the non-serial data on sepsis mortality prediction. And for the future works, fairness analysis for deeper investigation into the use of chest X-ray should be conducted, and also subgroup analysis before application of the model into external data sets and clinical settings. Thank you for listening.
Okay, now let's have the final video from Singapore team 36. The topic is developing an algorithm to predict real-time hourly variation of ICP using recurrent neural networks with long short-term memory for patients requiring ICP monitoring. Please play the video for team 36.
Good evening, everyone. We are Team Hiccup. Our project today presents a model to predict intracranial hypertension within the next hour in real time, a critical yet tricky complication to model. Let's talk about Joe. Joe has just met with a nasty car accident and is currently fighting for his life in the neurosurgical ICU. Due to an overwhelming amount of medical information, doctors are at a loss for what to do. As a result, his doctors start to react reflexively rather than proactively in managing his dynamic physiological changes. Joe's brain starts to become edematous and swell. According to the Monroe-Kelly doctrine, his body attempts to maintain his ICP levels by draining its other components, such as blood or cerebrospinal fluid. However, Joe's rigid skull functions as a fixed volume container, and once compensatory mechanisms for intracranial pressure are exhausted, his subsequent rise in intracranial pressure occurs very rapidly beyond the potentially fatal limits of 22. Not noticing the subtle changes in the different parameters, Joe's ICP suddenly rockets. Without timely intervention, Joe starts to decompensate quickly. With high ICP or intracranial hypertension, Joe is at risk of rapidly developing devastating complications. How could we have done better? Our algorithm aims to make this a simple task to understand. To aid patients like Joe, we introduced Hiccup, a method of monitoring hourly ICP changes using a predictive model to predict episodes of intracranial hypertension. Our novel approach to ICP prediction allows for better adaptation and modeling of patient ICP values. This was done using discrete time interval values rather than ICP waveform data. Additionally, we also incorporated medical interventions into our models. Previous waveform-based models were severely limited due to their small sample size, complexity of interpretation, and lack of real-time applicability. Our recurrent neural network was built at a time series model that selected both static and dynamic data points, which were then analyzed by our model. We chose to train on the EICU dataset due to high granularity of data. Our team selected patients undergoing regular ICP monitoring, much like Joe. 863 patients with more than 100 ICP readings were chosen, with a total of 79 exclusions, leaving 784 patients for analysis. This resulted in a total of 1.77 million unique ICP readings, which was split into a training, validation, and testing set. This then underwent 5-fold cross-validation. First, our team demonstrated on univariate analysis that ICH episodes were significantly correlated with hospital and ICU mortality, confirming the importance of predicting ICH episodes. Secondly, in our data exploration, we stratified our variables into two, static and dynamic, to better evaluate their relationship with ICH. For the static variables, we used random forest regression to identify pertinent factors correlated with ICH. Age, BMI, and admission GCS were identified. In order to address the non-physiological spikes present in the ICP data, an exponential moving average was used to reduce data noise. Missing data points were filled in using the last observation carried forward. Information was modeled and analyzed in 1.5-hour blocks to predict the occurrence of intracranial hypertension within the nearest hour. An ICP reading of above 22 was considered significant. We will now be presenting our results. We ran 3 models of hiccup on the cohort with varying inputs. All 3 models had a similarly high AUC and correlation matrix. Using this model, we are able to predict Joe's ICP trends as shown here. Each bar represents 1.5 hours of data. The red color represents when ICP exceeds 22 within the next 1 hour, while the green bar represents no such increase. The bars above refer to actual values, while the bottom bar refers to the model's prediction. When the color of the top and bottom bars are the same, hiccup has been an accurate prediction. However, the model has made a few false negative predictions. This may be potentially concerning and should be clinically correlated. To further improve these results, we ran our other 2 models on Joe's data. Our second model, which included dynamic variables, fared slightly better than the base, but our third model, which considered interventions at various time points, had fewer false negatives, thus showing its potential for more accurate predictions. Our model showed that it could incorporate timely management interventions that previous models had not considered. Hiccup could still adequately adapt to Joe's high ICP fluctuations and predictions in the next 1 hour. However, some interventions may precede patient ICP monitoring, affecting the patient's baseline ICP and hence the weightage of interventions in the model. Shapley analysis on dynamic variables were not performed due to time constraints. For future improvements, our team would ideally like to correlate with medical imaging, like results from CT scans or with other datasets. Furthermore, predicting 3- and 6-month functional outcomes, as well as mortality, would increase the clinical applicability of our model to patients like Joe. We hope that Hiccup will be a useful tool to aid clinicians in their management, reducing the missed ICH warning signs. In doing so, we hope to help Joe and many others from experiencing the devastating complications of ICH. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations to the top 10 teams and thanks for your amazing video presentation. Well done. While some of our judges are still busy marking some final scores, let's welcome Dr. Adam Chi, the Chief of SMART Health Leadership Center at the Institute of System Science in US, to share with us some of the remarks as judge representative. Dr. Adam, please.
Thank you, Shusi. So, hello to all everyone in the Zoom audience. Thank you for staying on up to now, and please keep on holding for a little bit moment while the team is actually working out the final scores. So it has been a long journey and an amazing journey as well. So over the past few days, you have seen teams working hard on their solutions, being creative, applying analytics, AI into the clinical workflow, come out with viable solutions. And we have seen many, many videos. Some of them are actually really, really good. And I'll be honest, we had a hard time actually trying to determine who would be the top few positions. There are just so many good projects out there. With that, so great job for all of you staying on to the Zoom session right now. I know there are people in the audience that where the time zone is early morning. Right now where I am, it's 10 plus in the evening. So we actually span across and you can see the efforts that's being put in. With this, I also like to give a special thanks to all the working staff who you have not seen in front of the camera. They have been working hard over the past few days as well. And so, yeah, a big thank you. With that, hold on for a few minutes and we'll show you some of the awesome winning teams. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adam. Next, let's welcome Dr. Niam, our organizing co-chairperson, to share with us some of his thoughts about this year's Datathon. Hi, Dr. Niam, are you online?
Hi, Suchi. Hi, everybody. Wow, I mean, this year's competition is really working out to be quite tough. We had really good submissions, and I was watching all the 10 submissions plus the other submissions previously, and I think our judges are going to have a hard time this year. Now, looking at the standard in which the presentations are submitted, certainly I think that there are elements that have certainly exceeded some of my expectations. And I really look forward to the judges coming to a conclusion and announcing the top 3 winners, and which would cap, I think there are many firsts in this particular Datathon this year. I think it's the first time we have so many groups and so many countries and site organizers are involved. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing who wins the top prize. Thank you, Suchi.
Thank you, Dr. Niam. Finally, we have all the results out. Now let's welcome our co-chairperson, Dr. Mengling Feng, to share with us the prize presentation.
Hello, everyone. It's me back again with all the results. Again, congratulations to all the top 10 teams and great thanks to their amazing presentation just now. Yep, I have the results with me. Let me share my screen right now. All right. Okay, so yep. Again, yeah, please join me to again thank all our judges. Let me name them out again. Dr. Omar from NES-TCC, Professor Ji Liang from MSU, Professor Fei Wong from Cornell, Professor Raymond Wong from Hong Kong UST, Professor Judy from Emory University, Professor Hao Chen from Hong Kong UST, Dr. Alistair, Dr. Tom from MIT. Sorry, Dr. Alistair has moved on to Hospital for Sick Children, and Dr. Adam Chi you just speak with, and then Professor James Pang from NUS. As mentioned, they really had a really tough time picking up the top 10, and among the top 10, there are also so interesting and impressive results they have presented. They have even harder time designing the winner. Wow, so yeah, before yeah, great thanks to them again for working really hard to help us to judge for this evening. Yeah, before we announce the result, please do allow me once again to thank our organizing institutes, including the National University Health System, National University of Singapore, MIT Critical Data, MSD, and of course, all our site organizers, including SingHealth, NHG, West China Hospital, 301 Hospital, Tsinghua Chang'an Hospital, Zhongnan Hospital, Chulalongkorn University, Seoul National University Hospital, NTUH from Taiwan, Tokyo Medical Dental University, ICOM from Japan as well, N6, and of course our partners from Brazil, the hospital is Israelita Albert Einstein. And all our sponsors, including Huawei, Microsoft, Intel, NVIDIA, ST Engineering, ASUS, Elsevier, Red Hat, TIBCO, SenseTime, Lenovo, Neo4j, Tencent, our co-organizer, Yo Fund, Holo Medicine Associate, SG Innovate, AWS, Singapore exhibitions and tour exhibition tour, NUS Institute of Data Science, N.1 Institute, ISS. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Well, without further ado, right, here comes the result. All right, so are you guys all ready? Okay, I don't want to hold you on further. We have 10 prizes, so all top 10 teams will be coming home with some prizes this year. And first up, we have the Best Potential Awards. Two of the Best Potential Award teams will be coming home with 500 cash each. Don't worry, guys. Give us a couple of days. Our team will reach out to all the winners to let you guys know how to collect the prize. Okay, are you ready? Okay, here it goes. Okay, the Best Potential Award two team goes to Team 54 and Team 59. Thank you so much, Team 54 and Team 59. I believe Team 59 is from Taiwan and Team 54 is from Malaysia. Thank you guys so much. Okay, the next up, without any further ado, I know you guys have been waiting this anxiously. We have the Best Presentation Award, and these two teams will go home with 500 Singapore dollar cash prize as well. And our Best Presentation Award goes to Team 21 and Team 28. And Team 21 comes from Taiwan, and Team 28 comes from Japan, our friends from Japan. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, as you can tell, my notes is somewhere there. Okay, congratulations to Team 21 and Team 28 again. Well, moving on very quickly, right, to the top prizes of this year. We will have 3 second runner-ups and 2 first runner-ups, of course, 1 grand champion, right? Now, all the top 10 teams is being very anxious. They were praying like, don't mention my team, right? Because the last one will be the champion. While all 3 teams of the second runner-up will come home with 2,000 Singapore dollar cash each, right? $2,000. And our 3 winners for second runner-ups goes to Team 9. And Team 9 comes from South Korea. A team comes from Seoul National University Hospital. Congratulations, Team 9. And Team 50 and Team 55. Team 50 from Taiwan again, congratulations, a very strong team from Taiwan. And Team 55 comes from our homeland, Woodland Hospital. Actually, a very new hospital in Singapore. Congratulations to you guys. Well, now it's getting really nervous, right? Everyone is, right? Because after I announced the 2 first runner-up teams, the top 10 teams will know who's the champion. Right, so yep, I'm not going to hold this up anymore. Again, for the first runner-ups, we will have 2 teams. And these 2 teams will come home with $3,000 Singapore cash. And I'm not sure this will make you feel better or feel worse. The best team among these 2 teams in the first runner-up, they are just 1 point away from the champion. This has happened as the same thing has happened last year in our Datathon as well. That kind of shows how good the quality of the teams and how tight the competition is. Right? So yeah, I hope that you guys know how good you are. Now, okay, without further ado, our first runner-up, the 2 teams in the first runner-up goes to Team 15, and Team 15 comes from Beijing Tsinghua University. Congratulations from our partner from Beijing. And Team 11 comes from the Singapore General Hospital, a local team again. Congratulations for Team 15 and Team 11. Well done. As I mentioned, you guys are just 1 point away from the champion. And that's why our champion, the 1 point ahead of everyone else, will go home with 6,000 Singapore dollars in cash. Right, I hope I've drawn out the cash and show on the camera now. Next year I'll do that. Okay, and here it goes. It goes to Team 36. Team 36, a local team as well. Congratulations, Team 36. And this comes to all the winners and prizes for Singapore Healthcare AI Datathon 2021. And congratulations to Team 36 being the champion of this year's AI Datathon. Congratulations to all. At this point, may I ask Dr. Niam, my co-chair, do you have anything to comment before we close tonight's grand final?
Thanks, Morning. Wow, that's such a oh, wow. I think there are so many winning teams, right? And I would imagine that it was very hard for the judge to have selected all these different teams, and the top team won by 1 point. 1 point. Okay, so that tells you how tight the competition is this year. And again, I want to thank all the teams that have participated from around the world. We're very evenly represented across all countries and territories, and I really look forward to your continued participation in the next year. One other thing to say is that remember the Datathon is just the start. Don't forget to take your ideas, take them forward in your own hospitals and make them reality in clinical practice. Thank you.
Thanks, Niam. Thanks, Niam. I totally agree with Niam and echo with everyone that I have mentioned, right? Our data, I hope that this only marks the beginning of very successful research journey for all of you. As I mentioned, all of you have been amazing, right? The ideas you propose, the results you achieve in such a short time, we are truly impressed. Please stay as amazing as you are, and we would love to see you again next year. As I mentioned, we hope that next year we can invite all of you physically in Singapore and join us. We are going to have a huge party again, right? So with that, I would like to say thank you and good night and goodbye as well. See you next year, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, some music, then I'll start dancing. Okay. Bye-bye. See you around.
See ya.